Welcome to PLAC Podcast, brought to you by the 2026 Legislative Internship Program cohort. My name is Iyanu Ojawo. I am representing Ekiti State, and I currently work under the Public Accounts Committee for the House of Representatives. I have a legal background academically, but I am into public accountability, and I'm also a humanitarian at heart.
My name is Obed Soludo. I'm from Anambra State. I currently work at the Senate Committee on Public Petitions, Code of Conduct, and Ethics. I'm a lawyer, but I have a passion for public policy.
I am Rakiba Yusuf. I am from Ogun State. I currently intern at the Senate Committee on Public Accounts. I am a lawyer as well, and I have a background in commercial litigation and public law.
My name is Abdurrahman Ibrahim. I'm from Bauchi State, and I currently serve under the House Committee Science and Technology. And I'm passionate about public accountability, governance, and citizens' participation.
My name is Aminu Baku Abubakar. I'm from the FCT. I currently intern with PLAC and I'm attached to FCT, House of Rep Committee on FCT. I'm a passionate advocate of social justice, a digital rights activist, and also, like my colleague here, I'm a lawyer by association.
I love that. So today we'll be talking about following the money. So government accountability, where the money is going and how it is spent. In Nigeria today, we see a lot of issues that happens with government spending and the resources that we give to the government through tax, revenue incomes from our oil sector, our agricultural sector. And we begin to see that this spending or this money that they are getting is not spent appropriately or properly. So the first conversation that I want to have with everybody today is discussing why public accountability is important. So my first question to everyone is, why is public accountability important? Lucubert, you can go first.
Okay, prior to going to why public accountability is important, why not let's discuss what public accountability is?
Okay.
I think when the term public accountability is heard, what comes to people's mind is what should come to people's mind rather is fiduciary relationship. And for people that are not lawyers, I would want to use the term laymen. We are all men. For people that are not lawyers, fiduciary relationship entails a situation whereby a party, on one hand, owes a duty of loyalty and good faith to another person, and primarily the person is expected to act to ensure the best interest of the other party is achieved. And for people, when in this instance where we say there's an existence of a fiduciary relationship, the government is the trustee, while the public funds is the trust property, and the government is holding the public funds on behalf of the citizens. So going to why public accountability is important, as every Nigerian is seated here today, our reality is that public accountability affects our daily lives.
The public accountability is important mostly to citizens. The government should always prioritize to highlight more about how the budget was spent and how the budget was being allocated to specific communities. And the communities shall also be fully participate in the budget process, mostly the revenue, capital expenditure, and recurrent expenditure. Through this process, they will get to know how the government spend the budget that was allocated and how the budget is being utilized.
Oh, thank you.
So if I can just jump in there, like, in
Yeah.
addition to what he said, and just piggybacking off what Rakiba said, I think her definition using fiduciary is very, very important because she talks about it's almost like a trust, right? So the money being spent doesn't belong to the government. You can see it in the language. I mean, if you start from the constitution where it starts with "we the people," it's a commonwealth, and so you're entrusting it to the government to use it for your benefits.
Exactly.
And so I think that's a characterization of the relationship lays the basis for us to talk about what accountability is. It means that if they are spending something that belongs to you, then they have to answer to you at some point in time, that they can't do it without your knowledge. And so it is against that backdrop that we can now say, okay, yeah, we've given you the power to do this, we've entrusted you with this power. through democratic process, but we still have to keep checking. We still have to keep asking how far, right? What are you doing? How are you doing it? Why are you doing it? In what way? What are the processes? What are the results? So that's the first question that you asked of what is public accountability. I think Rokibat has aptly answered that. Why is it important? I'll say that is important because I always tell people that money is the blood that flows through the vein of an economy. And it's even more important in private sector, in the public sector, sorry. So government is really all about making money and spending money, right? It's spending it both for the benefits of the public. And so every single part of your life, every public service, every from electricity to healthcare to education, everything that makes your life worth living is connected to government expenditure. And one thing that a lot of Nigerians don't seem to realize, I think we seem to have this idea of a very large national cake where everybody can come and take their share. But I always tell people the cake is very, very small. Right? It's much smaller than than we think. It's not a lot of money. You gotta check how much we spent last year or the year before, how much I'm going to spend this year, or how much the government is making. It's not it's finite, exactly. And given I mean Nigeria is a giant, right? Nigeria has what estimated 200. So supposed giant, we have 200 million people. So if you have that many people and the cake is finite here, every single cent, every single kobo that is spent is important. Because every kobo that is spent doing one thing is a kobo that is not spent doing something else, right? And we have so many deficits.
I was wondering, Aminu, do you have anything to contribute to this conversation in terms of what public accountability is and why it is important to the average Nigerian?
So I think my addition will come in terms of our conditioned mind that when we talk about accountability, or let's say public accountability, we always limit it to the monies and the funds involved. I also want us to like look at the bigger picture. For me, I believe leadership is a sacred responsibility. So before we even discuss accountability in terms of fund, we also have to look at, okay, what was, let's say you want to award a contract, did you really follow the due process as it's supposed to be? So before the issue of funding, okay, or holding leaders accountable. So I think to add up to what my learned colleagues have said, I think accountability should also translate to holding leaders, or let's say leaders following the procedure, the ideal procedures into making decisions, into awarding contracts and so on.
Okay, thank you. So that's very interesting. So it's not just financial responsibility and transparency, it's also procedural responsibility, making sure that we're following due process, doing our due diligence with every contract we give out, every money we are sharing to people, and making sure that projects are actually done according to what was said would be done.
Yeah.
I want to move on to a conversation about fiscal transparency. So recently we all read that IMF reports that 8 trillion naira was
8.8 trillion.
8 point, thank you. We not even go to the kobo, but 8.8
Yeah.
trillion naira was mysteriously lost in our 2026. It's a 2026 report. And I was wondering, from your perspective, how do you look at that report and speak on Nigerians or the Nigerian government's fiscal accountability structure?
Well, I think we are missing something. I think according to the IMF, what was said by the IMF representative was that these are lack of the records is not showing that the records is showing that this certain amount is spent out of the budget.
Yeah.
But if you look at the defense from the minister, minister of foreign and the finance minister, he said yes, the money was spent out of the budget, but the spending has a legal backing to it, that it was spent on statutory transfers, capital rollovers and all of it. So basically, the minister's defense is that yes, this money is missing. It's not missing. Let's say I want to correct that. It's not missing.
Yes.
The money was spent out of budget, but it was spent legally. So it also boils down to a lot of loopholes and a lot of controversies. Like I said, the transparency is not there. If not for the IMF, a lot of us in Nigeria don't know that that certain amount.
Sorry, I'm
Yes.
sorry to interrupt at this point. Okay, from Bako's statement that the minister during the maybe he issued a press conference, I'm not sure, stating that okay, truly the 8 trillion naira plus was spent on what?
Yeah.
Where?
Yeah.
Because we're unable to see, we've not gotten a detailed schedule or whatever. I don't know if it's a receipt of how the money was
And
spent.
the funny part to
Okay.
and the funny part to the minister's defense was he was asking we, or let's say IMF, to like, okay, this money is spent. We want you to provide us with the specifications
schedule.
of yes.
Exactly.
So I think the press release was more or less of a damage control, and in a lot of for those of us that are not into economics or sort, the minister tried to hide under some technicalities in the constitution and just
Which
so
is not correct.
Yeah.
I'm certain that I'm certain that provision of section 83 of the constitution does provide for the manner in which every expenditure is spent.
it spends.
Other than being spent, every expenditure is either no, not appropriated. Sorry, let me look for the word. Every expenditure is either published. Let me say published.
Okay,
So everybody
yes.
knows what the money is expended for. If you are saying okay, you spent over 8 trillion naira plus for certain projects that Nigerians are not aware of until it was flagged by an international organization. That's weird, and I don't know.
Not very, very.
Not
Transparent at all.
exactly.
And I think even beyond whatever legal technicalities could have formed the justification or the basis for the expenditure, beyond that, what is important is that transparency.
Yeah.
The rot in any democracy, especially when it comes to fiscal issues, like when it comes to spending, is opacity. You
Yeah.
don't want a situation where the people cannot see what is being done, even if you have a justification for to do it.
I feel like Nigerian government is doing value-added tax that is hidden. So they don't
So
put
a
it
lot,
on
a
the
lot, a lot,
prices.
a lot is hidden from the public. Again,
Yeah.
like I said, a lot of technicalities is involved in the whole thing. And if you read the statement correctly, the justification is okay because it has a legal backing. So, but again, it also boils down that okay, assuming we were told first and before IMF that okay, we had a spending of 8 point something trillion. Okay, when IMF now raised the issue, we'll be like, okay, we are in the know already, so this is no longer news for us. So I think the whole thing also boils down to what Ube is saying,
Yeah.
like
Full disclosure.
yeah, full disclosure
Yeah.
before somebody else, so you don't take us.
And okay, from this full disclosure, then we'll talk about okay, how are they going to be held accountable?
Yes.
If we are not aware of the existent expenditure, okay, this money was spent. How are they going to be held accountable?
Yeah.
So this undisclosure of a thing is still a form
It's
of
just one
insurance. Exactly.
Yeah.
Just ensuring that okay, these people do not get to know and they do not get to hold me accountable or call me to order and tell me not to do this. So I think I agree with both Obed and Amin.
And I think every public funds, whether it is spent really or it is or it doesn't spend really, it need to be more often to to especially the citizens
Yeah.
to know how it is being spent and how it is being budgeted to all the entire projects. Yes.
Projects that are being run by the
Yes.
government.
Yeah.
So that will take us back to, like we said, we spoke about now the transparency and accountability part of the fiscal aspect. But what institutions, or what's the role of institutions that we have in place now to provide that accountability to? So like the Auditor General, civil societies, what are their roles in this fight to find 8 trillion naira?
So I think
That's
our situation currently in the country now is so frustrating that this is just one of the many. I think we've had cases of fictitious agency coming up with budget approved also. Also have normally we know budget padding is not new to us. We have
Yeah.
agency of the Almajeri Commission that is into construction of rules. So a lot of things is wrong with our
Good
accountability
system.
mechanisms.
Yeah.
And it also boils down to the fact that the whole institution, I don't want to say weak, I don't want to say compromise, but again, the whole thing is there is this nonchalant, or let me say, there's this connectivity, because let me just take us back to the issue of the fictitious presidential advice, foreign advisory. Yeah,
Also.
an agency like that has a budget, was approved, and all of this process, we all intern in the National Assembly, and we know the processes in which most of these appropriation laws come to be, because they have to have budget defense, line by line, and everything. So if people of this nature can, like, if things of this nature can pass through this check mechanisms, yes, that means
We have a
It
big
was very
Pretty long
scary.
problem.
It's very scary. But I'm going to go back to that conversation later. But I was wondering with Abdurrahman, because he's more on the accountability championship side, what tools have you seen that people can use to keep track of these things?
Okay. There are more. There are many several tools that every citizen can use it effectively to know how the budget is being spent and how the project is being made in his community.
Mm-hmm.
There is budget by tracker, and there is follow the money. There is
Gov spend.
GovSpend.
Friend, yes.
There is the outline, and they shot such kind of tools which will help you knows how the government spent your money.
So we should improve the transparency system that we have in place now, and then also utilize the ones from NGOs or civil society.
Yeah.
Adding to what Abdurrahman said regarding institutions that are in place to exactly hold these government officials accountable. I know the Auditor General's office is one of the institutions as well.
Yeah.
And I'm presently interning at the Public Accounts Committee. And I and I do know that the Auditor General's duty of investigating, they don't investigate because the legislative has the duty to do that. The Auditor General's office has this duty to review the books of all the does it. This is a good. Thank you for that. The Auditor General has the duty to audit the books of all these MDAs, government agencies, after doing the audit, they prepare reports. I mean, bulky books, big, bulky
Detailed
books, bulky
reports,
reports, detailed. They have this opportunity to go through the books, pinpoint the inefficiencies, pinpoint the issues. Then it's usually so detailed that I wonder the people that go through that hell of going through. I don't know the number of agencies we have. I'm not so sure about the exact number, but when you see a list of agencies, I'm sure we don't have less than 50. So you have to go through their books for an entire year. Annually, they do this. And we have reports. It is extremely disturbing that as at 2026, July, today is what? 10th of July 2026, we are still reviewing audit reports from 2021.
House of Reps is 2022, so we're ahead of you.
2021, and here we are today. And I think the problem with the accountability duty on the part of the Auditor General, they are doing their part. They have recommended
they are.
because I think at the moment we even have reports for 2025 because they've worked on it. But how about the legislature? After these reports are sent to the Public Accounts Committee, when they are analyzed and these MDAs are invited for hearings, you have to come and speak and defend how you disbursed public funds. You are here, is it that they do not appear? We are all aware of the 210 trillion saga, the NMPC, Oshiomole saga. And even after, during the public hearing, the senators were at consensus. We are going to issue a warrant to bring in this ex-CEO rather, of NMPC to come and answer to these queries from 2021. And at the plenary the following day, what happened?
He didn't come.
Exactly.
He was in
He
journey.
didn't come. The what's it called? The arrest warrant that was the resolution at the committee was discountenanced. So what will happen? continue issuing queries, issuing invitations rather,
210 trillion.
until he
Gone.
decides to never step his foot on in Nigeria anymore. And what happens? The entire case gets closed. So even if the Auditor General have done their part, this thing has to be done. I don't know. There has to be a bit of connection.
So what's the solution here? Is it reforming the powers of the committee to not have to take it to plenary so that they don't mess up the whole situation, or sending it from committee level to judiciary straight?
Oh no, I don't think they can do that.
Okay, so what's your suggestion?
Is something that has to be done. Is a root affected issue. The Auditor General has to be, empowered, solely empowered to be able to issue this. I don't know, to be able to either arrest them or directly refer whatever inaccuracies they find to the judiciary, and trial commences. There's no need going through. Okay, they may be able to send it to the Senate, but if the Senate takes to, I think there should probably be a timeline as well within which they have to review.
Respond and review and
Exactly.
And something I wanted to add to something that just occurred to me now, and I think from the observations I've made, is that a problem with the way committees are run and the way they exercise their investigative or their oversight responsibilities is, I feel like a lot of the resources the Senate specifically, but the National Assembly in general is being dissipated on things that should not concern them. So Section 88 of the Constitution is what gives the National Assembly the power to investigate. But the power to investigate is not at large. It's not anything that you can investigate. It's not dispute resolution. I say this because I've observed that we see a lot of matters that should be going to courts coming to Senate committees. The other day I was at a hearing for someone that wanted to be reinstated for printing and minting, that he was dismissed in 2008 for sleeping.
Sleeping on duty.
Was living on duty.
Wow.
He was dismissed. He wants to be reinstated. And it became a matter that they were almost adjudicating on. This is a matter that any lawyer would know should be going to the National Industrial Court. It's not something that the National Assembly should be looking at. But that's what they do there. They settle disputes. What the Constitution says in Section 89 is there are two main purposes. The first one, and I'm not sure I'm getting the words right, but the essence for the first one is to investigate and expose waste, corruption, etc. Especially malfeasance relating to public funds. And the second is for the purpose of making laws.
yeah.
Once you streamline committee activities to these two, then you can earmark much more resources in terms of time, in terms of manpower, to pursue the larger purpose of legislative oversight, which is this public accounts, public expenditure, right? Fiscal responsibility and fiscal accountability. That is the onus of responsibility placed in the legislature by the Constitution. And so if we can revert back to that, it frees up a lot more resources so that we can clear up this backlog of audited accounts that we haven't been able to look at. Because like he says, there are more MDs than I can count.
So why don't we just, in case you have findings from, because I think it's naturally done so. Like if findings implicate an agency, why are we still falling it to the plenary? Why don't you just hand it over to this EFCC and the rest? Because we've been having cases where
I think they said during the plenary, the Senate leader did mention that I think pursuant to their standing orders, it has to be that way. So except the standing order is amended.
I think the next thing that we want to talk about is the oversight power of legislature and how effective our system is. So we're bringing back that conversation of the foreign Presidential Foreign Investment Council, Intervention Council, that had a 1.3 billion billion naira allocation. He went through screening. He went through the federal budget screening.
Yeah.
He passed. He got an office
At the
in the
Senate.
National Secretariat.
Yeah.
And then they come out and say, "Oh, it's fake." What do you mean it's fake? It's
even if it is fake, even you see the whole thing is indicting.
They already said it's fake. What?
Yes, no. Even if it is fake, the whole thing is indicting on the federal government. If it is fake, who are those people that are supposed to checkmate it to this particular process?
Yes.
Understand? Again, if it is not fake, it's indicting most especially on the National Assembly. Very first.
Exactly.
So how did you allow these things to pass, knowing fully well that it is not what you say it is?
Yeah.
So I think for me, on the last, see, there's this particular thing I think we've not discussed that has to do with our budget. I don't know if you guys know which budget we are operating currently in Nigeria. It was the last quarterly report, according to the last quarter report, as usually done, is 2025. Ever since, we've not had any budget reports, budget performance report.
How can these institutions be more proactive?
How
It's
can-
scale through. How can the legislature, the auditor general, people that are meant to checkmate things like this from happening, how can they be more effective in their
Simply
duty?
put, it's for them to do their duty, really. Because the reason why we are having,
You said what?
simply put,
Yeah.
it's for them to do their duty.
Do thank God you said they.
Exactly.
I thought you said no,
To
they are
carry
duty because
out
I know
their
they know.
duty.
It's just that
Because
doing that is
The
the
reason
matter.
why we are having this conversation is because in Nigeria, I think we usually react to happenings.
Yeah.
We are not proactive enough.
Exactly.
Before, we didn't hear of the fictitious agency until this year. And whatever issues that have been surrounding the entire thing has been going on since last year.
Yeah.
We didn't know until this is July already. Half of the year has passed. We didn't hear about the 8 trillion naira plus that has been expended that is not included in the budget.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was flagged by IMF.
Yeah.
So it is only until these things come to play that we get to know, oh, this is happening. And can they be rectified? No.
But I want us to round up, and I think you add what you say to the roundup,
Yeah.
because
Okay.
I'm coming to you. So, what principles should guide the reforms that we're making moving forward from all these, the 8 trillion, the 1.3 billion, like the money that is just like water
Exactly.
that was spending? What
Money now,
so the what principles should guide us with like reformation on how to keep public accountability strong? So, Obed.
I think in terms of fiscal accountability specifically, the main principle that should guide us should be frugality. One, we should be frugal. We should be. We must say we should be stingy. But I keep saying and we keep saying the cake is small.
Prudent.
We should be prudent, extremely prudent. Long gone are the days when we can afford to live lavish. It's the days of our leaders past, Gowon and Co and the oil boom and so on, where we could say the problem is not how to make money, but how to spend it.
Yeah.
The problems have changed.
Probably
Right.
change
So
drastically.
we need to be extremely frugal. We need to be extremely meticulous in where we put our money because every bad decision compounds.
Yeah.
But the second principle that needs to underlie specifically on accountability is citizen participation. I always say that there's a friend of mine, a colleague, who always tells me that people always get the government they deserve. And it might seem harsh, but it's true in the sense that
Yeah.
if the government is not doing something or is doing something that you don't approve of, the onus is on you, first of all, to raise alarm,
To call
and secondly, on the ballots,
Yes.
to make sure that the representatives that are not doing things that are in your favor or that are acting against your interest do not get
the
elected.
whole political party. Exactly. That should not be enough.
They should live in constant fear of the consequences and all this stuff. In democracies that work, people are ashamed of their voting records because they know that come the midterms is going to haunt them. And we need to put that fear, not the fear of God, but the fear of people
Yes.
in our politicians. So I think those are the principles that need to guide us going forward.
When it comes to citizens' participations, citizens should become like a CCTV camera to the government.
Yeah.
They should watch and monitor, focus on everything that has to do with public funds.
So the topic of public accountability at the end of the day is that the public is what keeps the accountability. So
Yeah.
if you are voting people into office, if you are paying entertainment tax and value added tax and income tax,
Yeah.
you should also be watching what that money is being used to. So if you are watching, like you said, being caught is the deterrent,
Yeah.
not the punishment of being caught.
Yeah.
So if you are watching and doing your part as a citizen and watching what these people are spending your money on and how they are spending your money and when they are cutting it from the sides before it's baked,
Yeah.
then we would have more of an efficient and effective government that is spending money in accordance to the constitution.
I also want to sound it to the leaders or the government. They should just live up to their responsibilities. We have one of the finest laws in everything. The accountability mechanisms is there. Everything is there. Just make it work, please and please. It's for the benefit of everybody. It's just like you are begging them now. Yes, now it has come to that stage that we have to beg the government to just do what they are elected
Just like
to do.
over
Yes.
You
That's
can
just it.
their opinions or whatever through your ballot box.
Yeah.
I think we can no longer
Beg.
we've had 60 plus years of sample size, so then we can no longer test. You know, they say this.
This one's new.
They say that's why institutions are so important. The power corrupts.
Yeah, and absolutely.
Absolute background. So you focus on this second, but it's the first that is super important. Power corrupts. That's why the founding fathers. I don't want to keep referencing America, but America is the atypical democracy. So people who created democracy recognize that no matter how pure of heart a person is, you cannot trust men to do the right thing. You must trust institutions. Right? You must create systems that compel people to do the right thing.
But obey is institution not made of people.
But
That's on an analogy to
they
another idea.
are bigger than people, and it's cultural, and that's why we have to talk about the culture of accountability. Once you've institutionalized that culture, individuals, you're able to.
You gets to do the right thing.
Thank you so much, everyone, for
Thank you.
a riveting conversation. But that's very intense, and like we said, just to round up, I agree with everyone. Hold government accountable. Government, please do your work, but then hold them accountable. This podcast is sponsored by the European Union under the European Union Support to Democratic Governance in Nigeria, EU SDGN 2 program.
Audio Jungle.